Alright everybody, welcome to today's video where we are talking about the Toyota Supra. Probably the most legendary, iconic JDM car in existence. So what I wanted to cover in this video is, what's it like to meet your childhood, dream car hero? Is it worth it? What I think of the car. So my thoughts on it: I've owned it about 5 days, and I've already pulled a bunch of stuff apart on it. I started messing with some of the smaller issues the car had and resolved a couple of them, and kind of what my thoughts are, my plans, my goals, and just what this car has done to the car community, like, as a whole. So first off, so this is my second Mark IV Supra I have owned. The first one I bought as really just a car I wanted to resell. So for me, it was I didn't really intend on keeping it. If you remember, if you've watched the video series, it was a right-hand drive 93 Supra, naturally aspirated, and 5-speed. So bought it in Clearwater, Florida. Pretty good price at that time. It was last year, and put very minimal money into it and did very well. I cleared over 10,000 return for that car as a flip, which at the time, that was my intention with the car. I don't like right-hand drive cars. I just cannot get my mind adjusted, and really just not a fan, if we're honest. So this car was really a spur of the moment. I actually had been looking for a Lotus Exige, funny enough, and I had some funding set aside, some money set aside for an Exige, and really and truly, it was too hard to buy one of those cars. What I mean was, every Exige that I found that met my criteria was on the opposite side of the country. The people I talked with just did not have good communication. Took them days to respond to me, or just I had to beg and ask multiple times for pictures and info, and it just not good signs. So I like to go lay my hands on a car in person before I just blindly buy something. This car popped up on a Tuesday night last week, and it was a mutual friend I had talked with before on Facebook. He was about 4 hours from me. Messaged him. He said he still had it. Said, cool, I'm coming tomorrow with my trailer if you still have it. We'll look at the car. We'll go from there. And the rest is history. Obviously, I bought it. Since I was 2002 was when I first fell in love with this car, which everybody did, when the Fast and Furious movie came out. So from that moment, as a kid, I wanted one of these cars. I knew I wanted it to be left-hand drive. I knew I wanted it to be turbo. I wanted it to be at least a manual transmission, preferably 6-speed. And I wanted the hardtop, because after doing some research, the rigidity is much better on the hardtop than the Targa, and that's just what I wanted. So I always wanted white. I was really picky about that. I was okay with red. I was okay with black, but I really wanted white. So when this car came up in the price range that it was, that was it. I knew I had to go get this car. So the car's pretty heavily modified, which is okay with me, because it has a lot of good money invested in it, and it does run and drive extremely well. It's got a few subtle quirks, which I'm working through, but nothing that is like not worth having, if that makes sense. I'll give you a walk around the car in a little bit just to show you the car, and talk a little bit more about that. So, but my initial thoughts are, I love it. I did not like my right-hand drive car. mainly because it was right-hand drive and it did not have turbo. It was slow. Just a Lexus IS300 motor, so the 2JZ GE, not a GTE, which this has. This is a factory 5-speed car, but has a 2JZ GTE with the VVTi in it, and the V160 6-speed transmission. So it's the transmission and, you know, the engine. Everybody wants a VVTi for tuning capability, so that's pretty cool. So I did not like my right-hand drive car, and so I was a little nervous that I wouldn't like this car, but it's a totally different experience. My very first car I ever modified when I was 14, 15, I had a 1990 Toyota Celica GTS. So that is the one that has the all-track body, so the rear end of the all-track, and a few other things, but it's front-wheel drive natural aspirated. But that car has the same gauge cluster just about. It has that green lighting behind it. Just gives me that feeling. So when I sit in this car, it's very nostalgic for me because it's like my first modified car, but on a whole different like planet. So for me, it really, the first time I sat in it, it was eerily familiar, which is awesome. The car drives really nice. It feels mechanical, so it feels very raw. If you're used to these newer cars, they're very numb. They're very, I guess, you know, not as responsive. It's hard to tell where the wheels are at when you're turning, for handling. I wouldn't say this is like go-kart related because it's not. The S2000 handles better, but just something about that experience and the way that this delivers that is just unmatched. So I really enjoy the car so far. I've driven it a little bit. I drove it around town on a couple days ago, so Friday, and it absolutely drew a ton of attention, which I expected it to. People were stopping me at traffic lights, like, what is this? Where'd you get it? Blah, blah, blah. And of course, I'm like, hey, it's a Supra, and it's funny, the response you get. So, I don't know. I still am having pinch me moments because I can't believe that this variant of the car in its current trim is sitting behind me. But it is. So, those are my initial thoughts. I do think having the right configuration changes the experience. If you don't like right-hand drive cars, don't even mess with a right-hand drive Supra. Find one that's, you know, either already swapped or one that needs a swap, and it's worth it, man. They're getting really expensive. I did get a ridiculous, fantastic deal on this car, so that is one of the reasons I jumped on it. But, you know, factory turbo cars, 6-speed cars, are fetching 120s, depending on mileage, which is nuts. I paid way, way less than that. So that's another reason I went ahead and just kind of grabbed this car. It was supposed to happen. So that being said, let's have a walk around the car. Let me show you what I've got, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. So, it is a 1995 Toyota Supra, non-pearl white, which I love. I did not want a pearl white car. Sorry for the glare. And honestly, it was really dirty when I bought it, so I really wasn't sure how clean of a car I got. But after I washed it, it is excellent. It is excellent. I think there's one ding on the whole car that I found, and there's 2 paint imperfections. One is here, and then one is on the rear bumper, which is a little more significant, but it still doesn't bother me that bad. And touch-up paint here. So the rest of this is just dirt that comes off. Very, very clean car. Very excited with the condition once I washed it and got to take some of the decontaminants off. Very straight, no rust. Very nice car. Also has I think it's the performance pack, because it comes with the twin turbo front calipers, which this car was not a factory turbo car. It was a left-hand drive 5-speed car. Also, it has very nice interior, which is another reason I was super excited about this car. Black leather, which is what I wanted. Seats are in great shape. One little spot here that I'm going to have repaired to have that all perfect. Back seats are there, also in great shape. Very good condition. Even the door cards are in very good shape. These have been reupholstered, I think, at some point, but they did a great job, so I'm cool with that. The car has CCW Classics on it, which are 18 by 10 in the front and 18 by 11 in the rear. I don't know the offsets, but they're the Supra fitment. Somebody went a little crazy with the rear tire size, and I did find out that it was rubbing the inside of the body just a little bit. So I did put a small spacer to give that clearance. It does have a small spacer to clear the twin turbo brakes up front too. I love the fitment. I think it is it's a good flush fitment. Let me go on this side. So good functional fitment, nothing crazy. I did fix the ride height. It's the first thing I did, and it has a 3/4 inch of a rake, positive rake in the rear, which is what I wanted for the car. Overall, I really like these wheels in person. Like, I didn't know how I was going to feel about them in pictures, but I think for what I'm going for this car, they're really fitting. It does have a TRD exhaust on it. I'm gonna get the HKS with the carbon cannon because that's the exhaust I always wanted for this car. But yeah, I'm really happy with how I got it, and that I still get to do a lot of the work myself. So I've already ordered a bunch of parts. I have bought the 97-98 front bumper with the half clear, half amber turn signals to match. I have got a lip coming, which is the flat, not the big triangle that comes up, because that's what I prefer. 97-98 headlights and tail lights with the conversion harness, and then little odds and ends. So for the car, I bought the ashtray because it's broken. I bought a new shifter assembly surround with the new boot because that's pretty ragged. The rest of these panels I'm going to take out, and I'm going to sand them down and repurpose them, repaint them, make them look brand new. Even the trunk area is clean and has all the stuff. Like, it's pretty cool. So yeah, very nice, well put together car. Don't have to do a lot back here. It has 10 Flex Z coilovers, so not the best, but not the worst. At least I have adjustment. They ride okay. Now, let me show you the exciting part here. The engine bay. The legendary 2JZ GTE VVTi. This is a big reason that I jumped on this car. It has a precision journal bearing 6266 turbo, which spools very quickly. I will probably end up getting a ball bearing at some point just to improve the efficiency a little bit. It has a lot of money invested in this car. I'll have to pull the list here on my phone just to give you an example, though. Alright, for starters, 2JZ GTE VVTi with a full refresh, so time belt, water pump, spark plugs, dry belt, thermostat, all that good stuff. It has a ECU master ECU. Let's see, torque solution, turbo blanket, precision, 46mm wastegate, street torque, turbo manifold. So it has a Greddy front mount intercooler, Greddy turbo back exhaust with TRD muffler, and ID 1300s, fuel pressure regulator from Aeromotive, AEM fuel pressure sensor, AEM fuel pressure crank sensor. So lots of goodies here. Let's see. TRD sway bar, coil rad radiator, AEM boost gauge, and then it has a flex fuel sensor too by AEM. So it is running E85. Car makes supposedly 630 wheel on E85, which I believe because it is monstrous. This is by far the fastest car I've ever driven, even faster than my Shelby that I had. I think that has to do with the power to weight difference, because this car weighs about 3,400 pounds, versus the Shelby was like 3,800. Shelby made like 750 wheel, so about 100 horsepower deficit, but this car, just the way it delivers it, it's just a lot more efficient. So I really like the car now. I cannot wait to see once all the aesthetic pieces are on it. It's really going to change the way this thing looks, in my opinion, and really just going to make me even more in love with it. It does not have any mechanical issues other than two things I'm trying to figure out. There's a small boost leak somewhere that it has to be a pinhole somewhere in the system. I don't know if it's in one of these couplers or something, but when the boost starts to come on, there is a really high-pitched whistling sound that happens. Trying to figure that out. We did a smoke test already. Found one place it could be coming, sealed that off, but it's still there. So trying to figure that out. I need to do some cleanup. Yes, the night I bought the car, I ordered a turned pipe, an inlet with a filter, so that is coming. I have not been driving it that much without that. The other issue I'm trying to figure out is the air conditioning system. It was blowing the fuse for the HVAC control unit, and thought I figured that out, but actually when I started the car to move it before I started filming this, I actually noticed that it has blown the fuse again. So not sure what it's doing at this point with that, but I'll get that figured out, I'm sure. And we did get as far to test the AC system that is holding refrigerant, but the compressor would not come on no matter what we did. Even when we tried to force it with looping it, would not come on. So I think the compressor's toast, so we're gonna get that fixed as well. Other than that, I mean, there are no issues with the car, engine, transmission related. It runs and drives like it should. Everything else works. So just gonna go through and start refreshing things, new fluids, brake pads, just differential bushings, compliance bushings, just stuff like that, just to make sure that it's safe to drive around and that everything is gonna stay where it needs to when I want to accelerate and do what this car's supposed to do. So my final thoughts so far: I've owned the car 5 days. I love it. I don't regret my decision at all. I think that it's going to be a hell of a car once I get kind of everything changed on it that I want visually. I think it makes plenty of power. I think 630 wheel is plenty of power for this car. It's really just how it's delivered and kind of what the experience feels like. Everybody's like, oh, you have to have 1,000 horsepower with a Supra. Well, you don't. This is a factory block and head, and I think that the power it makes is plenty to have fun and enjoy. I'm building this car as a street car to cruise around with my son, my wife. It's got a back seat. We can all enjoy it together. So I think power-wise, it's there. It has plenty. It makes all the right sounds, and it has the space inside. So once I get the AC worked out and a few of the minor things, it'll be exactly where I want it to be. So more to come. I'm going to kind of film as I do some things to it. I have been working on the S2000. It is not going anywhere, for those wondering. Here's what it currently looks like. Getting a trunk paint matched currently, because I did get a different Voltex wing. So once I get that back, I'll be able to mount that, get it centered. The hardtop is over here. But I do have my EVS roll bar fully installed and done. Everything on this car is done. Other than that, I'm waiting on the trunk so I can finish mounting the wing. I have the wing, it's in the box. And then I just finished the front end actually yesterday. So it has race spread front splitter, 3-inch with professional awesome mounting hardware, quick release, a couple of carbon splitter rods. It's very sturdy. I did get my hood matched, paint matched. It's a Cybon BS2, sorry. I had it carbon for a while and on the other car, and I really wanted it paint matched, and I'm so happy I did. It looks so good. Did the arrow catches on both sides. Don't want that hood flying up and destroying a very expensive roof, or causing me to crash on track. But here's where it stands, and I'm falling in love with this car even more than I was. So we're going to Watkins Glen next month actually to turn some laps with S2K Takeover and some of my friends. It'd be good to spend some time up there. So taking this car and actually going to be tracking on these wheels. These are my rougher track wheels. They're still 10s, but they're not as expensive as these if something silly happens. So, but I'll be filming more content on this car. I want to film that weekend and some seat time at the track. Got to get me a GoPro mount for my roll bar. But that's about it. I know this is a long-winded video, but I wanted to give my thoughts kind of on the Supra before I did a bunch of stuff to it. So as it came to me, and you know, I'll update you guys as we go. But any questions, shoot me a comment. Happy to help. Other than that, you guys stay safe out there, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.